Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something core, I think. We're looking at vulnerability.
Yeah, that whole idea that gets such a bad rap.
Exactly. That it's weakness.
Yeah.
We're here to kind of flip that script, really explore how showing up, being emotionally exposed, is actually where our strength comes from.
Absolutely. And for this deep dive, we're leaning heavily on the work of Brené Brown, her book Daring Greatly specifically.
Such foundational work.
It really is. And it's not just, feel-good stuff. This comes from, 2 decades of solid research?
Yeah, serious qualitative research on courage, vulnerability, shame, empathy, all done at the University of Houston.
Right. And her impact, well, it's undeniable.
You can't really talk about this without mentioning your TED Talk, can you? The power of vulnerability, it just exploded.
It really did. It brought these ideas right into the mainstream. And what her work does, fundamentally, is challenge that pressure we all feel.
That need to be perfect.
Invincible. Exactly. That idea that we have to have it all together to be worthy of connection, of belonging.
So our mission today, what is it?
Our mission is to, move past that whole invincibility thing. We want to explore how embracing who we really are, flaws and all. That's the real courage.
And that's where the good stuff happens, creativity, connection.
That's what the research suggests. It's the birthplace of creativity, innovation, genuine connection. Brown calls it wholehearted living.
Wholehearted living, okay. Engaging with life from a place of worthiness. I like that.
It's a powerful concept.
Okay, let's unpack this then. If being vulnerable, showing up honestly is so important, why is it so incredibly hard? What's pushing against us?
That takes us straight into her first big point, Chapter 1, the culture of scarcity.
Scarcity, right. The feeling of never enough. I think most of us know that one intimately.
Oh, definitely. It's that pervasive sense that we're lacking, that we're not enough as we are.
Not thin enough, rich enough, successful enough.
Exactly. It's the never enough problem. And this isn't just a personal feeling. Brown argues it shapes our whole society. It fuels this constant comparison, this fear, this inadequacy.
And you end up feeling like you can't rest, can't connect, until you somehow achieve more, whatever more is.
Precisely. It's a relentless cycle.
And interestingly, the book links this scarcity mindset to, behaviors we often label differently, like narcissism.
Yeah.
That seems a bit counterintuitive.
It does at first glance, doesn't it? But Brown makes a really crucial distinction here. She acknowledges other researchers like Jean Twenge who talk about external factors.
Like social media, the focus on self-esteem.
Right. Factors that might amplify narcissistic behaviors, the entitlement, the need for validation. But Brown urges us to look deeper at the root cause within the person.
So what does she propose is driving it, if not just arrogance?
Shame. Deep, profound shame. She argues that a lot of what we see as narcissism, the grandiosity, the lack of empathy, the defensiveness, is actually a shield.
A shield against what?
Against the terror of being ordinary, the fear of being seen as average, as nothing special, and therefore unworthy.
Wow. So the constant need to be exceptional is driven by a fear of not being enough.
That's the core argument. It's a relentless pursuit of perfection, of external validation, to try and protect against that underlying fear of being flawed, of being vulnerable.
That really shifts the perspective. It moves away from just judging the behavior.
Towards compassion, towards understanding the pain underneath. If someone's constantly needing to prove they're special, maybe it's because they're terrified they aren't.
So understanding narcissism through the lens of shame and vulnerability, it allows for a different kind of response.
Hopefully, yes. Less blame, more focus on the underlying shame that fuels it. Scarcity culture, she says, really damages our willingness to be vulnerable and our ability to feel worthy.
Which brings us back to the antidote you mentioned, wholeheartedness. If scarcity is the problem, what does living wholeheartedly actually look like?
It's essentially the opposite. It starts with the belief in your own inherent worthiness, that core belief, I am enough right now, not when I achieve X or Y.
Okay, but is that just positive thinking?
Not really. It's more of a practice. It involves courage, the courage to be imperfect, compassion for yourself and others, and connection-building genuine relationships.
So people living wholeheartedly are more willing to be, vulnerable, because they're not constantly trying to prove themselves.
Exactly. They accept their imperfections, which means they don't need the armor as much. They can risk being seen, truly seen, which fosters real belonging.
It makes sense. If you believe you're already enough, you're less afraid of being rejected for your flaws.
That's the idea.
Okay, but if worthiness is the goal and vulnerability is the path, Why do we fight it so hard? It feels like we've built up some serious defenses.
Oh, absolutely. And Brown dedicates a whole chapter to debunking the myths we tell ourselves about vulnerability. These myths keep us stuck, keep us safe, but disconnected.
Right. Let's tackle the big one first. Myth number one. Vulnerability is weakness.
This is the classic, the most common, probably the most damaging.
And her counter.
It's simple but profound. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the core of all emotions. Think about it. Love, joy, grief, creativity, belonging. None of these can exist without uncertainty, risk, emotional exposure.
So feeling things deeply means being vulnerable.
Precisely. To feel is to be vulnerable. If you shut down vulnerability because you think it's weakness, you're actually shutting down your access to the richest human experiences.
It takes courage to feel, to show up when you don't know the outcome.
Immense courage. That's why she says vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. Weakness doesn't fit.
Okay, that resonates. What's myth number two?
Myth 2, I don't do vulnerability.
Yeah, you hear that one. People trying to opt out.
Exactly. But Brown argues you can't opt out of being human. Vulnerability, the risk, the uncertainty, the exposure, it's inherent to the experience of being alive.
So saying I don't do it is just denial.
It's a deflection, she says. To grow up is to accept vulnerability. To be alive is to be vulnerable. Trying to avoid it just means you lose control over it. It tends to find you anyway, often through crisis or breakdown, when you're least prepared.
So you can engage with it consciously or it engages with you unconsciously.
Pretty much. Engaging consciously gives you choices.
Okay, myth number three feels really relevant today. Vulnerability is letting it all hang out. Oversharing.
Yes, this distinction is crucial. Vulnerability is not indiscriminate disclosure. It's not just spilling your guts to anyone who'll listen.
So what is it then?
It requires boundaries, trust, reciprocity. True vulnerability is about sharing your authentic self, your experiences, your feelings, but doing so with people who have earned the right to hear your story.
Earned the right. How do you know who's earned it?
That's where trust comes in. Oversharing with people you don't trust or who haven't shown they can handle it with respect and empathy often leads to more pain, more shame, more disconnection. It reinforces the idea that being open is dangerous.
And she uses the marble jar metaphor for this, right? To illustrate building trust.
Exactly. It's a great visual. Trust isn't built in one grand gesture. It's built slowly, marble by marble, through small, consistent acts.
Like what kind of acts?
Keeping confidences, showing up when you say you will, setting boundaries and respecting others, being kind, reliable support. Each time someone demonstrates trustworthiness, you add a marble to their metaphorical jar.
So before you share something really vulnerable,
You check the jar. Does this person have a full jar? Have they shown, consistently, that they are a safe place for my story? If the jar's empty, sharing deeply is probably unwise. It's likely to backfire.
that makes vulnerability much more strategic, much more about discernment in
That
relationships.
absolutely is. It's about connection, not just exposure.
Okay, and the last one, myth number 4. We can go it alone.
The myth of rugged individualism, so deeply ingrained, especially in some cultures.
The idea that needing help, needing support, is somehow failing.
Right. But the research is really clear on this. We cannot navigate vulnerability alone. We are wired for connection. Our resilience is built through connection.
So reaching out, building support systems, that's not weakness. It's essential for courage.
It's vital. Admitting you need support, seeking help, building trust within a community, these things actually build resilience. They allow us to engage with vulnerability more successfully, knowing we're not alone in this struggle. Collective courage.
Okay, so we need vulnerability, but we have all these myths pushing us away. To really embrace it, we have to confront its shadow, which is shame.
Exactly. Chapter 3 dives deep into understanding and combating shame. Brown calls shame the swampland of the soul.
That's evocative. Why is it so destructive?
Because shame isn't just feeling bad about something you did, that's guilt. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad.
The crucial difference. Guilt is about behavior. Shame is about self-worth.
Precisely. Guilt can actually be adaptive. It can motivate us to make amends, to change behavior. Shame, on the other hand, is that intensely painful feeling of being flawed, defective, and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. It makes us want to hide, to disappear.
And it gets its power from secrecy.
Absolutely, that's its fuel. Shame derives its power from being unspeakable, Brown writes. That's why it loves perfectionists. They're masters at keeping quiet about their
So it
struggles.
thrives in silence.
It festers in silence. It keeps us feeling small, isolated, resentful, afraid. And you see its impact in larger systems, too.
Like workplaces or families.
Yeah. In environments where shame is used as a tool or just runs rampant, you see blame, gossip, favoritism, disengagement, a total lack of innovation. People
Mhm.
are too afraid to take risks, to be vulnerable, to speak up.
So how do we fight back against this? Brown talks about shame resilience.
Yes, or as she sometimes calls it, gremlin ninja warrior training, which I love.
Catchy. What's the goal?
The goal isn't to never feel shame. That's probably impossible for humans. The goal is to recognize it when it shows up, move through it without sacrificing our values, and come out the other side with more courage, compassion, and connection.
Okay, and there are steps to this resilience training.
4 key steps designed to break the cycle of silence and isolation that shame demands.
All right, let's walk through them. Step 1.
Recognize shame and understand its triggers. This is about awareness. What does shame physically feel like for you? Tight throat, hot face, urge to hide.
Becoming familiar with your own shame signals.
Exactly. And identifying what triggers it. Was it criticism, a mistake, feeling excluded? And recognizing the voice of shame, the gremlin telling you you're not good enough. Just naming it, okay, this feeling is shame, starts to separate it from your identity.
Right, it's a feeling, not who I am. Okay, step 2.
Practice critical awareness. Once you've identified the shame and the trigger, you need to reality check the messages it's screaming at you.
Challenging the shame narrative.
Yes. Shame often involves huge, unfair generalizations. I messed up that one task, therefore I'm completely incompetent. Critical awareness asks, is that really true? What's the evidence? Are there other perspectives? You're deconstructing the shame story.
Separating the facts from the shame-fueled interpretation. Talking back to the gremlin.
You got it. Asserting a more balanced, compassionate reality.
Okay, step 3 involves other people. Reaching out.
This is crucial because it directly combats the isolation shame craves. It means sharing your experience of shame, not necessarily all the gory details of the situation, but the feeling itself with someone you trust deeply.
Someone with a full marble jar.
Absolutely. The goal here is to receive empathy. When you vulnerably say, I feel so ashamed about X, and a trusted friend responds with understanding and connection like, oh, that sounds incredibly painful. I felt like that too.
That connection breaks the shame's hold.
Empathy is the antidote. It tells the shamed part of you that you're not alone, that you're still worthy of connection, even in your imperfection. Shame cannot survive being spoken and met with empathy.
Powerful. And the final step, speaking shame.
This is about owning your story. Instead of letting the shame fester internally, you find ways to articulate your experience. It might be journaling, talking to a therapist, or sharing appropriately within your support network.
So not letting the shame define the narrative.
Exactly. You're saying, this happened, I felt ashamed, but I'm working through it. It's incredibly empowering. Brown says when you own the story, you get to write the ending. You move through it with courage instead of being paralyzed by it.
That's a profound shift. Okay, so we understand shame resilience. Now, how do we recognize the ways we already try to protect ourselves, maybe less constructively? Chapter 4, the vulnerability armory.
Ah, yes, the shields we all carry. We develop these protective mechanisms, this armor, often starting way back in childhood, to feel safe from judgment, criticism, or emotional pain.
Our persona, the face we show the world.
Right. But while these shields might have served a purpose once, as adults, they often end up keeping us stuck, isolated, and preventing the very connection we crave.
And the way out involves embracing that idea of being enough.
That's the underlying shift required. Recognizing you are already worthy, already enough, makes it less terrifying to start setting down some of that heavy armor.
Brown identifies 3 really common shields. What's the first one?
Foreboding joy.
Foreboding joy. That sounds contradictory.
It does, right. It's that experience where in a moment of pure joy or deep happiness, you're suddenly flooded with anxiety or dread. You start anticipating disaster.
Like, things are too good to be true. Something bad must be about to happen.
Exactly. You dress rehearse tragedy, as she puts it. You feel intense love for someone and immediately imagine losing them. You achieve something wonderful and worry it'll be taken away.
Why do we do that? Seems like sabotaging happiness.
Because joy is incredibly vulnerable. Letting ourselves feel it fully means opening ourselves up to the potential pain of loss or disappointment. So foreboding joy is a misguided attempt to protect ourselves, to somehow lessen the blow if things go wrong.
But it just ends up robbing us of the present joy.
Completely. And the antidote that emerged from her research?
What is it?
Gratitude. Consciously practicing gratitude in those moments of joy.
How does that help?
It shifts the focus from fear of what might be lost to appreciation for what is. It grounds you in the present good, building resilience to handle future difficulties without sacrificing current happiness.
Okay, gratitude as an antidote to foreboding joy. Makes sense. What's the second big shield?
Perfectionism.
Ah, classic. We often praise this one, don't we? Mistake it for healthy striving.
We do, but Brown draws a sharp line. Healthy striving is about reaching for our best, driven internally. Perfectionism is different. It's a belief system driven by fear.
Fear what?
Fear of shame, judgment, and blame. The core belief is, if I look perfect, live perfectly, do everything perfectly, then I can avoid feeling shame. It's all about perception, about what other people think.
No, it's externally focused, not internally motivated.
Exactly. And it's a trap. It's self-destructive because perfection is unattainable. It leads to constant anxiety, burnout, and paradoxically, it prevents the authenticity and connection it's desperately seeking because you can't be real if you're always trying to be perfect.
It keeps you stuck in the shame cycle.
Precisely.
Okay, and the third major shield, this one feels very modern. Numbing.
Yeah, numbing is huge. It's any activity we use to try and dull or escape difficult emotions.
Like what? Scrolling endlessly, binge watching, overeating, overworking, shopping.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Addictions, too, obviously. Anything that offers a temporary escape, a shadow comfort from feeling pain, anxiety, disconnection, or vulnerability.
But the problem is, you can't selectively numb emotions,
That's
friend.
not an immutable law. If you numb the hard stuff, the fear, the grief, the disappointment, you inevitably numb the good stuff, too. You numb joy, gratitude, happiness, connection. You end up living in this kind of gray, muted zone.
So how do you counter numbing?
It requires self-awareness first. Learning to recognize when you're seeking genuine comfort versus when you're just trying to check out. And fundamentally, it requires addressing the underlying disconnection that often drives the urge to numb, building real connection and community support.
So recognizing the armor of foreboding joy, perfectionism, numbing, and others too, I meant.
Oh, yeah, she mentions others like cynicism, criticism, sarcasm. People use intellectualizing or being overly critical as shields too, trying to seem tough or above it all.
But it all comes from that same fear of vulnerability.
Largely, yes. And ironically, these shields often create the very distance and superficiality they claim to despise. True connection requires putting the shield down, at least sometimes.
Okay, so we recognize the armor, we work on shame resilience. How do we put this into practice, especially in our relationships and the systems we live in? Chapter 5 talks about minding the gap.
Yes, minding the gap. This is about integrity, really. It's about paying attention to the space between our espoused values, what we say we believe in, what we claim is important, and our practiced values, how we actually behave, especially under stress.
The gap between words and actions.
Exactly. Brown calls closing this gap a daring strategy. It's essential for trust, whether you're talking about leadership, parenting, or just being a decent human being.
I often hear that phrase in business, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Is this related?
It's directly related. Strategy is the plan, the espoused value. Culture is what actually happens, the practice values, the unwritten rules. If there's a huge gap between the official strategy and the real culture...
The strategy fails. Trust erodes.
Precisely. And this creates what she calls the disengagement divide.
What's that?
It's what happens when people, employees, children, citizens feel disconnected and cynical because the leaders, the people in charge, aren't walking the talk. They preach one thing but model something else entirely.
Hypocrisy, basically.
Yes. And it destroys trust. People stop believing, stop engaging because the inconsistency feels like a betrayal.
The book gives some really relatable family examples of this gap.
It does, like the parent who talks constantly about honesty but then lies easily to get a discount or avoid an awkward conversation.
Or the one who emphasizes accountability but makes excuses for their own mistakes or doesn't follow through on consequences for the kids.
Right. These gaps, even small ones, send powerful messages. They teach children or employees or anyone looking to us what we truly value, regardless of what we say. Our actions shout louder than our words.
So the core lesson is, we can't give what we don't have. If we want to foster honesty or accountability, we have to practice it ourselves, consistently.
That's it. It requires vulnerability, admitting when we mess up, when there is a gap, and committing to closing it. Not perfectly, but consistently.
Okay, so minding the gap is crucial for personal integrity in relationships. How does this scale up? Chapter 6 and 7 look at daring greatly in bigger systems, work, and family.
Exactly. Chapter 6 focuses on rehumanizing work and education through what she calls disruptive engagement.
Rehumanizing. That sounds needed.
Desperately, in many cases. The argument is that leaders need to actively tackle the scarcity mindset in the shame culture that often permeates organizations and schools.
Because shame kills engagement.
It absolutely crushes it. When people are afraid of being blamed, ridiculed, or shamed for mistakes or vulnerability, they shut down. They stop taking creative risks, stop offering honest feedback, stop collaborating effectively. Trust evaporates. Innovation dies.
What are the warning signs that shame might be running the show in a workplace or school?
You see things like constant blame shifting, rampant gossip and backstabbing, obvious favoritism, leaders using public criticism or humiliation, bullying that goes unchecked. These are toxic signs.
And when leadership uses shame deliberately?
Brown argues immediate disruptive action is needed. It's an abuse of power and fundamentally damaging, because vulnerability is actually essential for growth.
How so?
Think about feedback. Giving and receiving honest feedback requires vulnerability on both sides. If leaders aren't willing to be vulnerable, to admit mistakes, to hear hard truths, they shut down that process for everyone.
You can't improve if you can't talk honestly about what's not working.
Exactly. Shutting down vulnerability shuts down learning, growth, and opportunity.
Okay, so that's work and education. Chapter 7 brings it right back home to wholehearted parenting.
And it starts with a really powerful question for parents.
Which is?
Are you the adult you want your child to grow up to be?
Oof. That cuts deep.
It does, because it highlights that our modeling, who we are and how we navigate the world, teaches our children far more than any specific parenting technique we might try to implement.
Our behavior is the curriculum.
In a nutshell, yes. So if we want to raise children who feel worthy, courageous, and connected, we have to strive to embody those qualities ourselves.
Which means modeling worthiness, affirming it in them unconditionally?
Yes. Tying their worth to achievements, you're good if you get good grades, you're worthy when you behave, is incredibly harmful. It reinforces the scarcity mindset. Wholehearted parenting is about communicating. You are worthy of love and belonging right now, exactly as you are, period.
That frees them up to engage with the world from a place of enoughness, not deficit.
That's the goal, and a huge part of that is fostering resilience.
Which, paradoxically, means letting them struggle sometimes.
Yes, and this is so hard for parents. We want to protect them from pain, but children need to experience setbacks, navigate conflict, feel disappointment, and learn to pick themselves up.
If we always rescue them,
They never develop the skills or, crucially, the belief in their own ability to handle difficulty. They don't develop agency or hope. Allowing them to fail, supporting them through the shame or disappointment that follows, that's how we teach resilience.
it takes parental courage to step back.
Immense courage. And finally, the ultimate aim within the family is creating a space of true belonging.
Belonging, not fitting in. What's the difference again?
Fitting in is about changing yourself to be accepted. Wearing the right things, liking the right things, suppressing parts of yourself. Belonging is being accepted for who you genuinely are, flaws and all. It's the security of knowing you don't have to pretend.
And families should be that sanctuary of belonging.
Ideally, yes. A place where vulnerability isn't just tolerated, but it's understood as part of love, connection, and being human together.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot to take in. We've gone from scarcity and shame.
To the myths around vulnerability, the armor we wear.
Understanding shame resilience, minding the gap.
And finally, applying these ideas to leadership, work, education, and parenting.
It really is a deep dive into what it means to show up and live bravely.
It is. And the final call to action, really, is just that willingness. The willingness to be vulnerable, to engage fully, even when it's uncomfortable, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed.
Because that's where the connection happens. That's authentic living.
Right. Brown has that incredible quote near the end. To love ourselves and support each other in the process of becoming real is perhaps the greatest single act of daring greatly.
Becoming real. I like that. So, if vulnerability truly is courage, not weakness, maybe the final thought for everyone listening is this.
What's one small piece of armor, just one, that need to be right maybe, or that perfectionist streak, or the cynicism?
What small piece could you dare to set down, just for today maybe? And what real connection might just open up if you do?
It's a powerful question to sit with. We definitely encourage you to keep exploring these ideas, maybe pick up Daring Greatly yourself, and continue your own deep dive.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Thanks for tuning in.
Until next time.